The Grand Assembly stood in silence. Every species, from crystalline strategists to telepathic warlords, watched the view screen as the human vessel entered the war sector. Just one ship. One. And yet not a single soul laughed. Is that it? Admiral Skreth's frilled tendrils twitched with disbelief as he leaned toward the hollow projection. That can't be the full deployment. Tell me the Terrans are joking. They're always joking, hissed High Commander Veshik, coiling tighter around his observation perch. But that isn't humor. That's a statement. Floating above the circular council chamber, the live feed pulsed with the stark silhouette of the Terran ship, black as the void, unadorned, unthreatening, and yet wrong. Not by its size or weaponry, there were no visible weapons at all, but by the quiet certainty it exuded. Like a knife lying casually on a surgeon's table. The Coalition had expected resistance, certainly. Even bravery. But not this. Humans have a word for this, said the Varnathi observer, his crystalline voice humming with tension. It's called overconfidence. No, came a polite voice over the chamber's open channel. It's called efficiency. The room froze. The voice had come from the Terran ship, unannounced, unscrambled, clean as if the speaker was standing among them. A second later, the live feed focused on the source. A human seated in an old-fashioned leather chair aboard the bridge, legs crossed, sipping tea as if the fate of 12 galactic systems wasn't balancing on his next breath. Allow me to introduce myself, he said, smiling warmly. Commander Elias Mercer. And yes, we only sent one ship. Why waste more? Earlier that cycle, Commander Elias Mercer adjusted his cufflinks while staring at the open void through the bridge's viewport. No weapon systems online. No battle formations. Just silence. Behind him, his AI chimed softly. Sir, incoming scans from 3 sectors. Coalition fleets triangulating. Let them, Elias said. They've already underestimated us. Let them keep doing it until it's too late. The AI paused. Most civilizations wouldn't consider one ship a valid deterrent. Elias smiled faintly. Most civilizations haven't met humans in their final form. There was a pause before the AI responded. Would you like to initiate the diplomatic sequence? No. Let's let them stew. Let the confusion bloom. He leaned back. Start recording, though. I want to capture their faces when they realize they brought fleets to a chess match. On the Coalition world of Hesk 9, panic and confusion rippled through command centers. That has to be a scout ship, argued Grand Strategist Lorlath. His eyes were fused with data streams, yet none explained the anomaly. Scouts don't broadcast directly into the assembly chamber, grunted Fleet Marshal Tor Von. That man's message was deliberate. He wanted to be seen, heard. He wants us talking about him. Then he succeeded, muttered a council aide. What now? They called an emergency session of the top military minds across the allied races. The question on everyone's lips wasn't, how many ships did Earth send? It was, why did they only send one? Inside the lone human vessel, Elias sipped calmly, waiting for the right signal. T-14 hours to predicted coalition engagement pattern, the AI reported. Good, he murmured. Plenty of time to let fear do the prep work for us. He tapped a console, opening a line to his tactical deck. Are we ready for the illusion protocol? Yes, sir, came the reply. Hollow displacement systems are masked. Weapon cores dormant until activation. No signs visible from scans. Perfect, Elias said. Let them walk into a museum thinking it's a tomb. He stood and walked slowly toward the viewport. Outside, the stars gleamed like silent witnesses. You ever wonder, Doc, he said to his AI, why no one ever asks what humans do after peace fails? The AI paused. Because history suggests they'd rather not know. Elias smiled. Exactly. So let's remind them, gently. Back in the assembly, another voice spoke, this one from a grizzled Tharn general, scarred and ancient. You all see one ship, he growled. and think this is madness. But I've read the old files. Humans don't need numbers. They just need to be angry. He pointed a talon at the projection of Elias sipping tea. And he's smiling. That's not arrogance. That's a man who's already won. A chill swept the room. High Chancellor Vistra finally stood. Her people had warred with humans once, barely survived. We must approach cautiously, she said. There is a saying among their kind, speak softly and carry a big stick. But you're all missing the real warning. She looked around the chamber. Sometimes they don't speak at all. Back on the ship. Enemy fleets are forming up, said the AI. Would you like to send a diplomatic clarification? No, Elias replied. Let the silence scream for us. He turned and gave a dry chuckle. You know, I once read that humans are like wasps. He mused aloud. We build beautiful nests, keep to ourselves, until someone pokes us. And then we just don't stop. Do you feel poked, Commander? No, he said calmly. I feel invited. Aboard the Coalition flagship, sensors began picking up irregularities. Sir, there's something strange in the space around the Terran vessel. The void, it's bending. Weapon discharge? No, it's like the light itself doesn't want to reflect off it. Like space is scared. Fleet Admiral Vorth hissed. It's just one ship, he repeated aloud, as if trying to convince himself. Then he heard the human voice again. You should ask yourselves, Elias's voice echoed. If it's just one ship, why haven't we blinked yet? Admiral Volker of the Serity Dominion had seen strange things in his 5 centuries of command, in tropic storms, time-locked anomalies, even the birth of a star inside a black hole's throat. But never had he witnessed a single vessel hold position with such calm defiance in the face of 13 war fleets. Their ship isn't broadcasting military credentials, hissed sub-strategist Kavar. It's transmitting a greeting. In 27 languages. Volker leaned forward, his eyes narrow slits behind the amber glow of his ocular visor. Play the human message. Again. The chamber filled with a calm, distinctly amused voice. Hello there. Just passing through. Lovely neighborhood. We noticed you mobilized an entire armada. Was it something we said? There was laughter in the voice, subtle, irreverent, almost teasing. The kind that didn't come from panic or fear. Mockery, spat Kavar. They're toying with us. Or, Volker's gaze turned sharp. They don't consider us a threat. A silence crept through the war room, cold and heavy. Aboard the UHS Concordia. Deck 1, Observation Lounge. Captain Elias Rowe, sipping tea with the serene composure of a man watching birds from a veranda, watched 13 fleets train weapons on his ship. I counted 34,000 vessels so far, said Lieutenant Harper from navigation. Their firepower could melt a moon. Rowe mused, swirling the tea. And yet none of them have fired. Harper tilted her head. Do you think they're scared? Not yet, Rowe replied. But they're confused. And confusion is how wars are won before they begin. He stood, brushed imaginary dust from his tailored uniform, and strolled toward the main holoscreen. The image of the Serity Armada blinked overhead, a dense web of ships, bristling with dreadnoughts and spike frigates. Status on cloak integrity? He asked. Flawless. They still can't scan the hull type. Or our payload. Excellent. Rose smiled. Let's keep the mystery alive. Back on the Serity flagship, the Iron Soul. The hull's composition is undefined, said Kavar, panic threading into his voice. It isn't registering as alloy, ceramic, or organic. It's wrong. Then guess, Boca growled. Kavar swallowed. It's emitting no quantum signature. It doesn't absorb light, it erases it. Like it was never there. That drew murmurs from the bridge crew. The Iron Soul was built to intimidate. But now, that confidence twisted into uncertainty. I want all battle AI recalibrated, barked Volker. That ship isn't a diplomatic envoy. It's a weapon. UHS Concordia, internal briefing chamber. Elias Rose stepped into a dark chamber lit only by blue holographics and the low thrum of the ship's intelligence core. Two figures flanked him, Commander Zhu, silent and sharp, and the ship's AI dubbed Mabel, who appeared in her chosen avatar, a silver-haired librarian with a shotgun strapped across her back. "They're scanning every millisecond," Mabel chirped cheerfully. "Their systems are advanced. But they're uncreative. Which is why they're predictable." Ro nodded. "Upload drift pattern Delta 9. Let's drift just enough to make them twitch." "You want them to react?" Shu asked. "I want them nervous." Seriki War Council Emergency Channel. "They're moving," snapped a scout captain. "Slightly. Lateral drift at sublight. They're probing our reactions. And doing it without a single emission burst," Kavar added. "No thrusters. No drive flare. As if they're breaking physics," Boka growled. "Or pretending they can." But he knew, deep down, in the part of a warrior's soul that still remembered primal instincts, that the humans weren't bluffing. "They want us to fire first," said Kavar. "Yes. And we will not give them that satisfaction." Interstellar Broadcast, Channel Epsilon, Peace Talks, Line. "We've noticed some tension," said Captain Rowe's voice, now broadcast openly on all galactic frequencies. "If there's been a misunderstanding, we're happy to clear it up. Though I should warn you, we tend to be a little defensive when surrounded." The word hung there. "Our ship's name is Concordia. Peace in Old Earth tongue. But peace doesn't mean passive." A pause. "Just deliberate." "On the bridge of the Iron Soul." "Sir," Kavar said, his voice almost breaking. "That transmission triggered subspace harmonics across 20 systems. Their signal burned through our shielding layers." Volker turned slowly. "Repeat that." "Our sensors are degraded. Their voice transmission destabilized quantum foam across a half-parsec." "That was impossible. Unless—" "The ship isn't a ship," Boker whispered. "It's a trial. We're not dealing with explorers. We're dealing with something else." UHS Concordia, Command Chamber. Shu frowned as the alien fleets halted their maneuvers. "They're holding," she said. "As expected," Rose said, eyes gleaming. "They still think they're in control." Mabel chuckled. "Want me to give them a hint?" "Not yet," Rose said. "Let them stew in it. The longer they wait, the more scared they'll get." Harper leaned in from comms. "A dozen other species are listening in now. Some are broadcasting emergency signals. Everyone's watching." "Good," Rose said. "Time for Curtain 2. He walked to the center console, placed his hand on the biometric trigger, and said quietly, "Deploy Sentinel probe, only one. Let them see one more piece of what we're capable of." Galaxy-wide public broadcast feed. A flicker. A shimmer. A second object emerged from beneath the human ship. Small. Sleek. The size of a dropship. Then, in full view of every species in a dozen sectors, the probe activated. It folded space into itself, silently. Cleanly. Like it was cutting through butter with time itself. And then it vanished. All sensors failed for 0.04 seconds. When they returned, they revealed a new crater on the far side of the Cerati moon, a perfectly carved circle, 5 kilometers wide, vaporized in one instant. The humans didn't explain. Didn't threaten. They let silence do the talking. Bridge of the Iron Soul. Volker sat down. Hard. Kavar's voice trembled. "They destroyed part of the moon, with a scout drone." "No weapons," Volker murmured. "Just motion." The old warrior stared at the image of the Concordia. That calm, unmoving vessel. One ship. Alone. Or was it? "Scan again," Volker ordered. "Not the ship. The space around it." Kavar froze. Then paled. "Oh stars! What is it?" "There's distortions. Tiny ones. Gravitational flickers. Phase shadows. Dozens. Hundreds. Voker's blood turned cold. They didn't come with one ship, Kavar whispered. They just showed us one. The observation deck of the alien dreadnought Vartak's Glory pulsed with tension. Admiral Silskar, a high-ranking Zarnth tactician with a mind honed through 6 centuries of warfare, stared at the singular dot on the holographic display. Still no fleet? He asked, claws tapping impatiently. Confirmed, Admiral. Just the one human vessel. No escorts. No decoys, the skin officer replied, unable to hide the tremor in his voice. Silskar narrowed his eyes. What kind of species answers a galactic summons with one ship? The deck fell silent. No one had an answer. Across the void, in the shadow of a dying star, the human ship Diplomatic Courtesy drifted into position. Sleek, black, and entirely non-threatening by appearance, it was no larger than a mid-tier cargo hauler. No weapons visible. No energy spikes. Just quiet. And then it hailed. A gentle chime echoed through the command deck of Vartak's Glory. No threats. No demands. Just a request for tea. Patch it through, Silskar said. The screen flickered, and a human face appeared, smiling, calm, the embodiment of polite indifference. He wore a crisp black suit, no medals, no insignia. Just a lapel pin shaped like Earth. Good evening, the man said warmly. My name is Elliot Brandt, diplomatic envoy from the Sol Accord. May I come aboard? Silskar scoffed. Alone? Brandt gave a light chuckle. Wouldn't dream of crowding your airlock, Admiral. Something about the way he said it made Silskar's inner eyelids twitch. Minutes later, Elliot Brandt stepped onto the Zarnth dreadnought escorted by 20 armored guards, none of whom he seemed to notice. His shoes clicked with annoying precision, echoing down the metallic corridor, as if he owned the place. He walked like someone who'd already planned your funeral, and was just here to deliver the flowers. Silskar greeted him in person. You come unarmed? Brandt smiled. I find weapons tend to escalate things unnecessarily. I'm here to chat, not conquer. And you believe one ship is sufficient for chatting? Silskar asked dryly. Brandt's eyes glimmered. I suppose that depends entirely on how the conversation goes. It wasn't a threat. But it wasn't not a threat either. They entered the War Council chamber, a cavernous room with holographic maps of the galaxy glowing in crimson and gold. Brandt strolled past them like a man browsing a museum. Silskar remained standing. Explain your species insult. One ship. No escort. No defense grid. This Council of Empires summoned Earth to demonstrate its loyalty and strength. What you've shown is arrogance. Brandt exhaled lightly and took a seat without invitation. You asked for strength, he said. We send it. Silskar leaned forward. This is not strength. It's suicide. The human raised an eyebrow. And yet I'm the one sipping your tea. Silskar growled low in his throat. You mock us. Brandt folded his hands neatly. No. I'm giving you an opportunity. You're evaluating Earth for inclusion in your Grand Council. Naturally, you want to see how we respond to pressure. Correct. Well, Brandt said, leaning back. We calculated that the worst thing we could do was show you our fleet. The room stilled. Silskar squinted. Why? Because then you'd think you understood us. The silence was heavy now. Even the guards looked uneasy. Brandt continued, tones smooth as polished glass. See, you look at our weapons, our technology, and assume you're measuring power. But human strength? It's never been about the hardware. It's about intent. He stood, slowly, and wandered to a glowing star chart. Let me tell you something, Admiral. Humans are deeply flawed. We're impulsive, contradictory, sometimes cruel. But give us a reason? And we become focused, unrelenting, terrifyingly efficient. He turned back, eyes now devoid of humor. You invited us here to test us. But you've been testing the wrong thing. Silskar tensed. What have we been testing then? Brandt stepped closer, voice quiet but cutting. Yourself. Before the Admiral could respond, The chamber lights flickered. The ship's power dipped for half a second, barely perceptible. Brand casually tapped his wristband. "That's odd," he said cheerfully. "You just experienced a 0.4-second systems lag. Happens when a signal pulse from diplomatic courtesy syncs with your core AI. No damage, of course. Just access." The guards raised their weapons. Silskar shouted, "Stop!" Brand didn't flinch. Now. Let's not ruin the good tea. You asked why we brought one ship? The answer's simple. One was enough." He turned back to the holomap and pointed at a small blinking dot far from the galactic center. "That's Earth. Quiet, unassuming. But we're very good at appearing harmless until it's too late. You want to test our loyalty? Here's the test. We gave you every opportunity to be civilized. To be curious instead of condescending." He turned. "This is your final moment to decide whether you want us as members, or reminders." Silskar swallowed hard. "You're bluffing." Brand smiled gently. "We never bluff. We prepare. We wait. And when the time comes, we act." The chamber door opened. Behind it stood a Xanth officer, pale and shaking. "Admiral, the other ships, they're gone." "What?" "They were cloaked. Around our perimeter. One signal pulse from the human vessel, and they vanished. Instantaneous disintegration. Sir, there was no light. No sound. Just nothing." Silskar stared at Brand, voice hollow. "You planned this?" "No, Admiral," Brand replied. "You did. When you decided one ship wasn't enough." He adjusted his cufflinks. "And now, unfortunately, the real conversation begins." Silence gripped the bridge of the Voth Dominion's flagship. Across every holographic screen, the human vessel, the Gladius, remained still, its silhouette serene against the black. It hadn't moved since arriving. One ship. No escort. No fleet. Just a floating mystery. "Commander Rethal," murmured Tactician Verlek, his tendrils twitching. "It's been 4 hours. No demands. No transmissions. Just orbit." The commander's mandibles clicked. "Humans are arrogant. They want us to make the first move. It's a power play. Or a trap," Verlek added, voice low. "Then why not spring it?" asked a voice behind them. It was the human. Ambassador Elias Vance, in his pristine navy blue uniform, strolled onto the bridge as if he'd been invited. Hands clasped behind his back, posture relaxed, smile precise. The Voth guards raised weapons instantly, but Vance merely gave them a gentle, almost fatherly smile. Now. No need for dramatics," he said. "I'm unarmed. Which, in your case, is considerably safer." "How did you get on board?" Rethel barked, rising. "Oh, I asked nicely." Vance leaned slightly toward a console. "Your docking AI is surprisingly agreeable when spoken to in binary. Very polite. Almost human." "You've trespassed on a warship," Rethel hissed. "That's an act of war." "That's adorable," Vance replied. "But let's not pretend war wasn't already on the table." He stepped forward. "I'm here to save you time, Commander. You've spent days trying to decipher why we sent only one ship. I thought I'd help." "Help?" Rethal spat. "By trespassing? By explaining?" Vance's voice hardened, only slightly, just enough to be felt. "Because you're about to make a mistake. And humans, well, we don't handle that kindly." Rethal clenched his fists. "Your arrogance is exhausting." "No. Our restraint is," Vance replied. He waved a hand toward the star screen showing Gladius, still hovering alone. "You assume one ship is weakness. But we didn't send one ship because we couldn't send more. We sent one ship because we don't need more." Verlek frowned. "Impossible. Your fleet is still docked. Sleeping. Hopefully undisturbed. The one you see is just our polite knock on the door." Rethal snarled. "We are not afraid of your games. You should be." The words landed like stone. I'll make this simple, Vance continued. You're standing at the edge of a chessboard you can't see. You think you're mid-game, but the truth is, you've already been checkmated. You just haven't realized it. Verlick scoffed. One ship cannot defeat the Dominion. Vance's eyes twinkled. You keep thinking it's the threat. A pause. Rethel narrowed his eyes. Then what is? Vance tilted his head, his smile fading just a fraction. The one inside it. The room chilled. I told your AI something on arrival, Vance continued. A code phrase, Protocol Annihilus. I figured I'd give you a few hours before he wakes up. Rethel blinked. He? Vance tapped the screen. That ship isn't crewed. It's commanded. By an old friend of ours. The screen shifted. A face emerged, scarred, pale, metallic. Not alive. Not quite machine. Meet Commander Cormac 12. He's what we call a relic. Last deployed during the Helion collapse. Rumor says he held a siege for 6 months, alone, on a dead planet, just for sport. The Voth officer stared breathless. We retired him, Vance added. Said he was too effective. Lacked empathy. Loved war a little too much. You know, human problems. Rethel felt a drop of sweat trail beneath his plating. This is blackmail. Vance nodded. It is. But polite blackmail. I even brought a solution. He placed a small data crystal on the console. Your surrender. Terms included. Very reasonable. We only want 67 planets back. And no parades, please. You expect us to bow? Rethel growled. I expect you to survive. What you do after that is up to you. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The screen showed the Gladius shifting, barely. Then it vanished. Not cloaked. Gone. What? Verlick began. A scream erupted on the lower deck. Then another. Chaos spilled across the comms. He's on board, Vance said calmly. Rethel spun. Here? Now? Vance gave an apologetic shrug. I did say the phrase. Took him a bit longer than expected to wake up. He's been dreaming. From the corridor came heavy steps. Unhurried. Deliberate. Then silence. The bridge doors hissed. A figure stood there. Broad armored. One eye glowed faint blue, the other was a scar. Not a weapon drawn. Just the quiet, still presence of someone who didn't need one. Cormac 12 stepped in. His voice was like crushed iron. Target acquired. The guards raised weapons. Vance raised a hand. Don't. Too late. Cormac moved once. A blur. The weapons hit the floor in pieces. No blood. No one touched. Just disarmed, cleanly, silently. I prefer conversation, Cormac said, his gaze on Rethel. But I'm built for the alternative. Rethel sat slowly, hands trembling. What do you want? Vance placed a hand on his shoulder, gently. A future. With less noise. The commander looked up. And if we refuse? Vance leaned in, whispering like a secret. Then we call your bluff. Outside, hundreds of Dominion ships began to power weapons. The Gladius reappeared, hovering above the fleet, engines cold, until they weren't. Thousands of microsignatures lit up around it. Not ships. Drones. Silent, waiting, orbiting. We never needed more ships, Vance said softly. Just one. And one very bad man. The Dominion weapons shut down, one by one. Orders to fire were not answered. Systems overridden. AI locked out. You're not fighting us, Vance said. You're fighting yourself. We just rewrote your code. Rethel stared, defeated. Why? He asked. Vance smiled one last time. Because you asked the wrong question? He turned to leave, voice echoing as the bridge doors slid open. It was never about why we only sent one ship. It's about why you thought that was all we needed.